Hello, class. This is the second video covering Activity 5.3. We had just finished doing problems 1 through 5. We didn't do problem 6 and 3. I'm going to leave that for you to try. If you have questions, just send me an email and we'll work through these last two problems. The next topic in 5.3 is multiplying rational expressions. Okay, so if you look at example 3, we have x plus 3 over 5x plus 10 times x plus 2 over x squared plus 3x. How do we multiply this? Well, just like we did in the last video, you want to start by factoring the numerator and the denominator completely. All right, so the first term, x plus 3, there's nothing we can do there. But the bottom piece, this 5x plus 10, we can factor to 5x plus, okay? And the second piece, right, the x plus 2 on the top, there's nothing we can do there. But the x squared plus 3x can be factored to the quantity of x plus 3 times x. All right, and now look what happens. The x plus 3 will cancel, the x plus 2's will cancel, and on the bottom I'm just left with 5x. Right? And you can see that they do the work over here. Right? So I'm left with the 5 times the x on the bottom, which is 5x. On the top, we're going to be left with just 1. Okay? Let's look at the next example. Actually, instead of looking at another example, we'll do some practice problems. So let's take a look at practice problem 7. Okay? So you have a couple of options here. You could cross-cancel, right? So I have the 25 and the 35. Right, if I divide both of those by 5, I'd be left with a 5 on the top and a 7 on the bottom. And then we can cross-cancel the 6 and the 9. Right, if I divide both of those by 3, I'd be left with 2 and 3. So now when you multiply across the top, you'd have 5 times 2 is 10. And on the bottom, you'd have 21. Now we have to handle the x's and the y's. Right, so let me change the color of my pen here to, I don't know, let's use yellow. All right, so you notice how I have an x here and a y here. I could multiply those to get x, y cubed. Perhaps this yellow wasn't the best color to use. And on the bottom, I would have x to the 4, y squared. Yeah, I'm going to change my color. Sorry about that. Let's try blue. And maybe a little darker blue. All right, and there we go. There we go. All right, so we have the 10 over 21. That's not going to change. But if I have an x to the 1 over x to the 4, that's going to become x cubed on the bottom. And then on the top, I have y cubed over y squared. That's going to leave me with just a y on the top. Okay? And that would be my final answer. Right? 10y over 21x cubed. Now, by the way, some people don't like the cross-canceling. So what would happen if you just multiplied the 25 times the 6? You would end up with 150 on the top. And if you multiplied the 9 and the 35, you'd end up with 315 on the bottom. Now, if you reduce 150 over 315, you end up with 10 over 21. Oops. Okay, so whether you cross-cancel first, where you have to 5 times 2 is 10 and 3 times 7 is 21, that's one option. If you don't like cross-canceling, you can use the bigger numbers and then just reduce at the end. Okay, let's take a look at number 9. Okay, so I want to factor first, and I think I'm going to stay with the blue ink. I'm going to factor out an 8, and I will be left with y minus 2. The 24y just stays 24y, nothing to do there. And the second term, 15y squared, nothing doing there. And I have y minus 2. All right, and now what's nice about this is, well, the y minus 2's will cancel. Okay, now again, you could cross-cancel, right, the 8 and the 24, the 15, or you could multiply 8 times 15 and then reduce at the end. All right, so this time I'm not going to cross cancel. I'm going to multiply the 8 times 15, right, which is 120. And don't forget the y squared on the top. And on the bottom, we have 24y. And now you want to reduce the 120 and the 24. And 120 over 24 reduces to just 5. Right? So we're going to have 5y is our final answer. Right? Because the y squared and the y become y. Right? Let me write that 5y a little neater. There we go. So our final answer is 5y. Okay? So let's start number 8. The first fraction, there's nothing to do. Right? We have 3 times x plus 5 over 7 times x plus 3. Nothing to do there. The second fraction, I can factor out a 4 on my numerator to get x plus 3. And the denominator, I can factor out a 6, and I have x plus 5. Oops. Okay, and now I can cross out my x plus 5 and my x plus 5 and my x plus 3 and the x plus 3. And what am I left with? On the numerator, I have 12. The denominator, I have 42. And then that can be reduced to 2 over 7. Right? If I divide 12 by 6, I get 2. 42 by 6, I get 7. And that's my final answer for number 8. All right? I'm going to skip number 10 and move down to number 12. So for number 12, I'd like to factor out an x, and I'm left with x minus 4. And on the denominator, I factor out an x, and I'm left with x plus 2. The next fraction is a trinomial. So on the top, you're going to ask yourself, what two numbers, when multiplied, will give you negative 10, but when added will result in negative 3, right? Negative 10 and negative 3. So it looks like some combination of 2 and 5. I'm thinking positive 2 times negative 5. Right? That's positive 2 times negative 5. That would result in negative 10, and when I add that, that results in negative 3. So when I factor this, you're going to write x plus 2 times x minus 5. Okay? And then for the denominator, well, we can do the same exercise. What two numbers, when multiplied, give you 20, and when added, result in negative 9. Okay? So I'm thinking 4 and 5, right? Negative 4 times negative 5 would work. So I'm going to write x minus 4 times x minus 5. Now look what happens. I have an x minus 4 on the top, x minus 4 on the bottom, cross them out. X plus 2 on the top, x plus 2 on the bottom, cross it out. X minus 5 and x minus 5, cross those out. I have an x and an x, so everything crossed out. So here's the question. If everything crosses out, is your answer 0 or 1? Which one of these would be your final answer? The answer is 1, right? If we can cross everything out, our answer is 1, right? Think about it. If I gave you 3 over 3, the answer is 1, right? 5 over 5, the answer is 1. X over x, the answer is 1, right? If essentially everything crosses out, your answer is 1. So since in this problem everything crossed out, our answer was 1. All right? That will do it for this video.